All right. And we should be live. How's everyone doing tonight? We're going to be looking at some electrical mistakes to avoid. These are pretty common. And when I say common, they're uncommon to catch, but they are commonly made, but they're not obvious. So that's why we're going to talk about them. We've always got the usual suspects: grounding, bonding bushings, uh, self tappers, things like that. That's like a dead giveaway. What we're talking about is the stuff that's not so obvious that everybody messes up on. So let's get into it. I'm going to make the screen. I got two screens here. I got one up here, one down here, trying to figure out what's best for you guys so we can get this going. I'm going to say like that. And I think I'm actually going to. What's up, Joshua? 7 months, man. So Texas is wiring something again. No, we're not wiring something. We're talking about the code and some of the stuff that I run into that's not so common. So let's see here. I've also got YouTube up here, so I should be able to see. I need to share this screen. Hang on. I don't know if I want to do the whole screen. Uh, Screen 2. Yeah, we can share that. That's gonna work or not? I am waiting to see if it's gonna pop up. YouTube slightly delayed. It says you can see the screen, but it is not working on your side. Let me try one more thing here. We should be able to see this tab. We should be able to make this tab big. All right. So the first thing here is going to be these conductors. First off, you can see they're aluminum. And this is fine. It's MLO. So there's no main circuit breaker here. So this is okay. But here's the deal here. This is number 2 wire. And if we go here to 310.15 here, I'm going to also share this screen here. See here. Need to share this one here. Then we zoom in. You're going to see number 2 here is actually good for 90 amps. And we're using the 75 degree C. So you go straight down here, 75 degree C for your terminations. And you're going to see that number 2 is only good for 90 amps. So we actually can't go to the next standard size. If we were 92 amps, we could go up to 100 amps because that would not be a standard. You could go up. But in this case, we are stuck at 90 since 90 is a standard size. and that is something that I commonly see actively look for, especially on temporary for commercial job sites. So if we went to here, sorry, I got a lot of screens to open here. We're in here 240.6. You'll see here that 90 amps is a standard size right there. So we can't go up to the next standard. What's going on? We got Diligent Dave, Jamie True, SEO Panther. Got a couple of members in here. Appreciate all the continued support. Moving on. Let's go to the next one. If we go here to the video, every once in a while, Filmora keeps exiting out of the screen, yet it's right here. That's kind of starting to drive me crazy there. There we go. This Filmora. So you see here, this is number 2 wire. And what we're going to see, they had it on 100 amp fuses. So you can't do that. That's what we just showed you. I thought of an electrical mistake to avoid. Don't stick your finger in the light socket. Yeah, man. Let me see why. This is very interesting. Hang on. I have 2 StreamYards open, which would be why we're having trouble here. So that would probably do it. Let's leave one. All right, this is going to be a lot of fun to edit later. Yeah, live stream mistakes to avoid. Exactly. Exactly. There. So you see we got 100 amp fuses here. And if we go back just a touch, you see that number 2 wire, good for 90 amps on 100 amp fuses. And that's something common. So then we got our 240.6 there. You can see 90 degrees C right there, or 90 degree amperage on 75 degrees C. No good. And then we show you here again, 90 amps on 75 degrees C. Some of these I got the code up in the shorts, some of them I don't. Yeah, and not, yeah, exactly. Okay, this one is really uncommon to catch. Really, really common mistake though. So check this out. A lot of people thought that we were talking about the Tapcon in this video, but we're actually not talking about the Tapcon. We're talking about this transformer is missing fuses, which is just crazy, man. People are crazy. So let's look at it. We're coming straight from the transformer. I'm gonna back it up so we can catch it. Remember, I only got a minute to do these videos. So you can see that's the side of the transformer right there. There's the flex coming up. A lot of people thought it was because it was next to an exit. It's not because it's next to an exit. There's a general duty safety switch right there. And that's exactly what that is. All it does is disconnect the power. There's no spots for fuses. There's no overcurrent protection. There's so much wrong with this because straight off of the transformer, it's like a service. They call them secondary conductors. And there's a lot of rules that have to go with secondary conductors. Flex table and chop saw patents were leaked today. Nice. So let's look at that real quick. Let's do this. Let's share. We are getting more used to this. Let's share this one here for the paint. And we're going to look right here. This image is so huge on this paint. Transformer secondary conductor is not over 10 foot long. If the length of the secondary conductor does not exceed 10 feet, it must comply with all the following. So every bit of this. Number one, the ampacity of the secondary conductor. So the secondary conductor, I'm going to show you here in a second, would be coming right off of the transformer. You're going to have a primary, which would be 480 volts in. Secondaries would be 240 out. Your secondary conductors, not less than the combined calculated loads on the circuit supplied by the secondary conductors. So you can't be less than the secondary loads, which means you cannot go to the next standard size. If you have 150 amps of wire or 160 amps of wire, you have to go down, being 160, you have to go down to 150 here. If you have 220 amps of wire, you can't go to 225. You have to go down to 200. That's the rating there, not less than the combined calculated loads on the circuits, and then not less than the rating of the equipment containing overcurrent devices. This is it here, supplied by the secondary conductors, or not less than rating of overcurrent protecting device at the termination of the secondary conductors. So this whole sentence here pretty much says that you cannot be less than the rating of the device your conductors are rated. So if you got a 200 amp breaker, you got to have at least 200 amps of wire. If you got a 400 amp breaker, you have to have 400 amps of wire. A common mistake here would be if we went to, trying to get used to this double screen thing. If we went to, I believe it's this one here. Yep. If we went to this one here, and one of these days I'll get used to which way this mouse goes. Man, it's so hard to see this mouse. If we scroll down here, you're going to see a common mistake, 380 amps. A lot of people will put 500 copper going to 400 amp fuse, which is usually okay. But in this case, because we're secondary conductors, you either need two sets of 3-aught, two 3-aughts here, multiply 200 times 2 to get 400 amps. or you got to be 600. So that's a really, really common mistake. You got to be equal or more. All right, moving on. Also, they used a Tapcon for bonding, which was terrible. So let's uh let's look at that. Okay, so moving on. There's their Tapcon there. You got double lug grounds, all kinds of stuff was wrong with this one. One of the biggest things though, no overcurrent protection. Honestly, I don't understand this, but I'm watching for support. Appreciate it. Let's see here. What's that comment say? I gotta go over to. Can we talk about three phase and also capable people installing a 3-pole 240-volt breaker on all three legs and making 277 or 480? Yeah. Yeah, that was three phase. Must be a Decepticon. That's funny. What did you make? Okay. I will eat it here in a second. It looks really good. All right, now this is an interesting scenario. I'm going to explain how these switches work, where to bond, and pretty much what's going on here. And then we'll get to some more pictures here. This is the scenario here. This was pretty interesting, right? So this is the normal flow of this. We've got the 480 that feeds this transformer, 480 volts. I don't know what the size breaker was here. We went into the transformer and we came out to a 400 amp breaker as we should. The problem was with this guy actually ran 500 and not 600. So as we know, what we just discussed was that 500 is only good for 380 amps. So this was actually no good. Now I'm going to show you a scenario where he was actually okay because the type of wire that he ran and the type of lugs that he had and the breaker was actually 90 degrees C rated. And he was able to use the 90 degree C column, which is pretty rare. So he was actually able to get away with keeping his wire and showing me the lug ratings, which doesn't commonly happen. But anyway, so he was good here. Now, what we have here, this is a switch. And what happens with this switch is you're going to see, if you look at this white portion here, you're going to see where that switches over. You can see the white moving now right here on this ATS, which is an automatic transfer switch or a manual transfer switch. So what we're going to see here is this bottom pole right here is the common. And what's common about this is that this is always going to have power, whether it's going to be switched over here and going fed from this 100 amp breaker, or whether it gets switched over here and it's fed from this battery backup cabinet. So this is our common. And then this would determine on what status we are. So in the event that we lose power, if we lose power here, if the building goes down, we're going to no longer get power here. So this will be off. This, however, will turn on because it's going to sense the loss of power. You see these contacts here? You got normally closed, normally open. So this is usually closed, which allows current to flow to this disconnect, which allows the power to be sitting here. When this opens, it senses that it lost power. That's the low voltage opening. And now the battery is going to supply power. You can see where we're now on this left side, we're going back to the common and then feeding these panels. And now we're on a we're pretty much on emergency power right now. So that's kind of how that works. So right now we have regular power, everything's cool. Battery is not hooked up. You can see where it's maintaining charge because we want to maintain voltage to this cabinet. The power is still flowing here, power is still flowing here, but the switch is not activated. So that's how we're not creating a phase to phase explosion pretty much, is that this still has power. So once we lose power, this switch is here, the battery supplies these loads. The biggest question that I get is where do I bond? Because typically your first means to disconnect. So a lot of people would associate this manual transfer switch or this automatic transfer switch as the first means to disconnect because it's kind of right off of the battery cabinet. I actually had the contractor add this disconnect, and I'm going to explain why. One, this battery cabinet did not have overcurrent protection. So much like the transformer, you got to have a fuse or a breaker. This battery cabinet didn't have it from Square D. No fuse, no breaker, nothing, just hot. So we had to have overcurrent protection, but we also needed a place to bond because we got to get all of our current back to the neutral. If we have a ground fault, if we've got current or a short circuit or something on something metal, we need to get that current off of whatever's metal, bring it to our ground bar, and our neutrals are bonded to our ground bar, and that's going to get current back to the source. And that's effectively the only way to trip the breaker on a ground fault, is if you've got that connection where your grounds and neutrals are bonded. Trying to catch up on the chat. I miss Blackboard night. I'm a lucky SOB. Edison changed our poll at work. My company owner was so happy to tell the neighborhood building that we did not experience an interruption in power because this guy right here installed. Nice. A backup generator and ATS. Ha ha ha. Yeah. Josh was tracking. That's funny. All right. So we needed to add this disconnect, one, so we can create a spot to bond, because we need to bond at our first means to disconnect. We need to bond where all our neutrals come together. So this is where you bring your building steel to. This is where your grounds and neutrals would bond. And this is pretty much your service, because if this is all off, which it is, we go back here, this is dead. So we no longer are using the neutrals over here. We've created the neutral here. So this is where you want to bond, because where your neutral's created, this is where you get current back to the source. So we bonded in this disconnect. We added this disconnect. The plans didn't call for this. We got to talk to the engineer and get them to add a disconnect, because one, we needed it, but we also need a space to bond. The last thing we want to do is bond inside this ATS, because what will happen if we bond in this ATS, we're going to create a parallel path, and we're going to get current on our ground, and we're going to get current on our neutral. So 1.732 would be the three-phase, calculation for that, but just pretty much figure in half. Half of the current goes on the ground, half of the current goes on the neutral. So you don't want any current on your ground wire, obviously. So you bond here, and then pretty much everyone's happy. Not so common though. It's not always obvious where you want to bond. It really depends on where your neutrals come together on the ground points. All right, moving on. This is the switch in the attic. This switch, it's 50-50 on where this switch is going to be. This is for the lights. So you can see the problem. It sounds kind of nitpicky. Imagine trying to retire in this house, being old, and then, it's just not fair for the homeowner. Our job, as inspectors, is to protect pretty much the taxpayer of whatever municipality. So, um, yeah, you protect the contractor from the electricians doing dumb stuff. Uh, but it all boils down to the homeowner or the building owner. That's what it boils down to. So we're not doing our taxpayers any service if they're having to climb in a dark attic when they're 60 or 70 to turn on a light switch. So it's got to be accessible from the stairs. Yeah, the switch thing happens a lot. Um, it's pretty crazy. All right, this one kind of irritates me. The code's getting out of hand with this, but now we're measuring through doors. So you got to measure through the doorway. Um, yeah, 6 feet. So as the crow flies from the edge of this sink around the corner through the doorway, measure to the receptacle. If it's within 6 feet, you got to add a GFCI. When it doesn't get fun is when this isn't in a readily accessible location, then you got to add a GFCI breaker. But pretty much now everything's got to be on AFCI anyway, which would be arc fault. So you're already spending $60 on a breaker. You may as well spend $5 more and get the dual function. But yeah, they're just trying to sell these things like crazy. So also, yeah, look at this, man. Brand new house. Look at the crack in the framing. Just the quality's just no longer there anymore. Some hands you better leave the attic alone. Yeah, exactly. What do we got here? Oh, backfed breaker for solar. Um, I actually don't have a picture about that, but I can pretty much tell you off the top of my head what you're gonna do. I think this video is gonna explain it. Maybe that's why I don't have a picture for it. Let's just watch it and see what happens. Doing a lot of pointing right now. 150 amp main, 40 amp backfed breaker. Okay. So here's the code here. Two sources. One's primary source. Another one is another source. You got to locate the breaker on the opposite end of the bus bar. So the idea is that you want the current to flow from where the power's kind of supplementing or adding from. So if you're adding extra power from your solar, you want it to kind of saturate the whole bus bar as you make your way to the main is the idea of that. You don't want to put it so close to the main and the current just go straight to the main. You want to add the electricity evenly across your bus bar. Um, Next, you got to be 120% of the ampacity. Ampacity just means the amperage capacity. So if we want to be the ampacity of the bus bar 120%, we would multiply 1.20 times 200, which would be what the bus bar is rated for. And that would give us 240. And next, you're going to subtract the main of the panel. So if we have 240, we subtract 200 amps, that gives us 40 amps. So the maximum breaker that we can put on this solar would be 40 amps typically. Come on, moving on. That's it. Okay. So in this case, they do have a 40 here. The bus is rated at actually cannot read that. I actually can't read it, but I think it's a 200 amp bus. This is where you'd see your bus ratings. And you're going to see they installed a 150. So we can install that much of a bigger breaker. You would take 240 minus 150, and therefore you can be larger than a 40 amp breaker on the back fed. But what I'm seeing, the problem is with this is that let's see here. 60 amp circuit with number 4 to a sub panel, number 8 ground is acceptable. I believe so. Let's look it up. Okay. Hang on. We need to present this one. All right. Here's 250.122. So this is how you size your conductors for grounding based off of the overcurrent device here. So we're going to see if I need to make this bigger for you guys. No, you can see it. Here's your 60 here. 60 amp breaker. Number 10 is okay. And if I go back to the question, what was the question here? Yeah, you don't even need number 8. You need number 8 aluminum if you wanted to. I think the next thing that I'm going to work on is getting this pencil freaking bigger so I can find it for you guys faster. That's been half of the battle, is seeing this stupid pencil. Yeah, and then just for fun, I'll show you guys how to size your ground, your service ground for your transformer or your service or whatever you got. So if we've got 2 sets of 3/0, we got 2 sets. Three aught. We know it's good for 200 amps each. That's going to give us 400 amps. Now, what we can't do, we can't go over here to 250.66. Well, we especially can't do it because I don't have it. Oh, we are on 250.66. My bad. We can't take a 3/0 here because we're 2 3/0s and we can't just guess. So what we got to do, we got to convert 3/0 to KC mil because as you can see, after 3/0, we go to 350 KC mil, 600 KC mil, 1100 KC mil, all through there. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go over here to conductor properties, which is right here. This is your CMA, your circular mills. And this is your KC mills there. So we need to take 3/0 here, which right here. And we need to convert it right here. This is where we're at. We need to convert it to KC mil. And we have 2 3/0. So we're going to take 167,800, multiply that by 2, which comes to 33 something, 333 if we do the math on that. So then we go back over here and we're going to be 350 through 600. Nope, I apologize. We're going to be 3/0 through 350 here, which is going to get us a number 2 copper. And something I commonly see, they'll just guess. They'll put a number 4 because they thought 3/0. And the reason for that, can I draw here? I can draw there. Nice. If we've got multiple pipes here, if we got multiple pipes and they got one ground jumper going across each one, why is this thing messing with me? Like I can't get it big enough. Okay, dude. Solid fill. There we go. We got one ground jumper going across. We got a 3/0 there and a 3/0 there. And let's say this pipe is empty. There's a spare. Uh, if you've got a fault in this pipe here, you've still got to be able to clear and get the current back to the source. So this wire needs to be big enough to carry the whole load, because you're not just carrying the load of 3/0 because this is all a set. This is all going to the same spot. So just like you have all these sets of wire to make up the total, you've got one ground size to make up the total. So you need to be able to clear that fault with a big enough wire before it just disintegrates itself, overheats, melts, breaks, whatever. You need to have a reliable path back to the source. So that's why you got to upsize your ground. Let me see here. I cannot see. I know Utility Cheating uses the 1/0 for aluminum 200s because they don't land on a breaker, but yet I have to use 3/0 for my 100 amp. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They do cheat, man. Run like a 4/0 to a 400 amp service. Call it good. Kansas says, if I'm running a floodlight out above my basketball court for the kids, what gauge of extension cord will I need? And should I use duct tape, electrical tape, or packaging tape for weatherproofing? Um, Probably some of that liquid electrical tape and some Flex Seal. Just spray it on there. Just sent you pictures of my as build. Need to send you one more picture. You want me to look at them live, George? I'm gonna eat this pudding. It's actually got a what do you call that? Where you melt it on the top. We're gonna load George's pictures. Hang on. Let me load these pictures that George sent me here. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Okay. This should be cool. Oh God. And okay. All right, we got him. I cannot find the mouse again. Hang on. Okay, so we need to load. Let me do this. Let me just open up a new paint. Sorry, paint's my weapon of choice, guys. even if I can barely see my cursor. I'm starting to realize why they call it a cursor. Okay. What is this, George? Is this is kind of extensive. Let me see here. Let me make sure I got them in order. Okay. And okay. Let's talk about it. I just sent the UPS for the floor. Okay, I'll check it out. Let's get presenting this for now. I think it's this one. Can we no? Can we That's about the same. We can do that. Okay. What do we have here? We got a distribution panel LVDP6. Existing main circuit breaker is 800. I'm trying to find the source here. That's a feeder. That's the main circuit breaker. Three 500s. This must be it here. I don't know why it's on 400 amps. I think we need to let's see what he says about it. Where is my cursor? Uh is he going to mention anything? Let me see if I need to download one more. Okay. Uh let's see if you can tell me where the main is. So this is the common bus here. This is a common bus. This is what we're looking at right now. And the first thing I look for when I see a common bus is overcurrent protection. So this is the MDP. It's a common bus and it needs a main. Now it looks like this feeds this. Now typically it's top to bottom, left to right. This is an interesting what? Okay. So this is going to be the feed. Let me load another one here. Let me try another one. I'm just trying to find the main right now. I'm thinking this is it. So this feeds this. This is 480 volts here. And then we hit this transformer, and then we're going to go down to 208. So we're probably 400 out, 800 in, and then we got a 400 amp fuse here or breaker that feeds something. And then we got a 100 amp for something else. Let's see if we can find it. I wish this was all one piece. Let me see here. George just dropped this on us and then left. What's the question, George? You just wanted me to look at it? All right, let's just go back to it. All right, so this here, the ground, this ground here should be. I don't really have any sizes of wires either. That would be nice. We're gonna guess 400. That's 800. So probably 4 sets of 3/0, 3 sets of 5, 3 sets of 350. I don't know. No way of knowing. Okay, so isolated ground bus, isolated ground, junction box, isolated. Okay, so it's continuous IG back to the source. Very nice. That's exactly how you do that, by the way. You take your IG all the way back to the source. Um, I don't know what some of this stuff is. There's an emergency feeder. Okay, so that's a 3-pole breaker for a generator inlet, probably. And that's the backup for some kind of computers. There's overcurrent protection for the secondaries, 90 amps. This is his UPS. He's got 2 number 4s, a number 3 neutral, number 6 insulated, number 6 ground, 100 amp breaker. Looks like. I don't know where that goes. I'll have to load the other plans for that. 1/0 IG, yeah. 3 500s. 3 500s. Oh, I know what that's not 3 sets. That's just 3 500s with the number 3. That's correct. Yeah, this all looks sized correctly. The biggest thing is whenever you bond your transformers, you wanna go off of 250.66. Before you give up, here's the pic of E6 overview coming at you. Yeah, it actually looks pretty good. Not really the service though. This is just a whole nother. This is just a feeder that feeds a small section of something. This whatever this is, it's pretty huge. If I was gonna size your steel ground, I would say it's gonna be based on the size of the wire. So we would size that based off of. I'm just gonna get my code book. Looking for 250.66 here. What size is he doing? Two number fours and then a 90. So maybe number three, number eight, number eight there. I don't know what size this wire is. We're just going to go with, we go with 167,800 times four and see what that gets us. Uh, 671 kc mil. So if we go to the back of the book, um, 250.122 or 250.66. Oh, will be a 2-aught. You got a 1-aught. Let's see here. What I've got is 350 through 600 would be a 1-aught. Depending on your KC mill, 600 through 1100 KC mill is a 2-aught. But the IG shouldn't need to be that big anyway. Your IG only needs to be as big as your um, biggest branch circuit, pretty much. So yeah, man, I would say everything is sized really good. What's the last one? Oh gosh, it's huge. Number six, two number fours. I think number four is good for that. 250. No, 310. Number four is good for 85 amps. That's going to get you on a 90 amp breaker. Wait, I think you had a 90 amp breaker. Did you not? I think you had a 90 amp breaker. Look at him go. 90 amp breaker. All day. Yeah, man, you're killing it. And you upsized your neutral. Just be careful with these UPS outputs, man. Do you have overcurrent protection on it? Because some of these don't even have overcurrent protection on the. See here, what happened to our? Is the wrong screen there? I was just the architect. The engineer did the math. Yeah, not much has changed since 1999, man. Really, really have. Do they have insulation in 500 volts or other than 1,000? 600 would be the next rating, and I don't know if you can find any anymore. I think everyone's just gone to 1,000. Yeah, man. It looks like a good install. You got a 60 amp T pole. Looks like protecting this. So does this switch? Yeah, it does switch. I think you got one more image for me. Let me see if I can load it. Oh, some kind of. Let's see what they're feeding. Uh, Man, I got a lot of screens up. Um, Hang on. Back to this screen, and then wow, that is a. Is it a church? What is this? Like some kind of stage. Telescope storage. Zoom in. Projection pit. Planetarium. Uh, UPS. What is this? Like a telescope? Projection pit. I don't even know what I'm looking at, man. What is that? Except for school, you got projections, projector, lecture hall, projection. I don't know why that is so big. That seems like a lot for projectors. Maybe it's a huge display. control station. Was it lecture hall? Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, sorry, I'm the only one that doesn't know what a planetarium is. It's okay. I'll search it. From Bermuda, man. We don't have planetariums. Large room with a dome, ceiling shape, and many seats. Projector in this room, shine images on the dome ceiling, show the stars. Oh yeah, I do know that is. Yeah, so it is a telescope. That's cool. That's kind of what I thought it was, but then I wasn't sure. Okay, yeah, it's a sanitarium. That is pretty cool. That's probably perfect in the middle of nowhere too, because it's probably darker. Like the sky is darker. In Bermuda, you can pretty much see all the stars. Kind of like when you go out in the country here. That's where Kansas connects to the Makita Matrix. I knew it. All right, let me see here. I can't find my mouse. Get this out of here. Oh, there was one thing that I was going to say about this solar that's becoming a problem is that we got contractors now. Earlier on, the uh, the solar guys are selling you the solar, and the homeowners aren't wanting to spend extra money on the upgraded panel until later. Maybe wait a couple of you know tax cycles or whatever to where they can actually afford to upgrade the panel. So we're running into the solar contractor being gone, and then your standard electrician that doesn't know anything about solar putting the new panel and tying it back into the solar. And it's becoming a huge problem because they were line side tapping, but now you can't really line side tap the same way you could before. So they're putting these huge breakers in. We showed you that 120-volt bus calculation. They're putting these huge breakers in and not knowing anything about how to properly tie in. And thankfully, sometimes you get an inspection and we're catching it like 100% of the time. Even on like the most reputable contractors in this area. Um which means that they're missing it, like mom and pop shops are missing it real bad. So that's going to be something that's going to catch up with a lot of contractors here in the next couple of years. For sure. I haven't tried the Bowers. Um Typically once I find something that I like, I tend to stick with it. But I actually just bought a whole bunch of stuff. Some stuff I didn't want to buy. Some stuff I did want to buy. Some stuff I had to rebuy because of all the situations. And it's pretty funny because let me let me just go get them because everybody loves these pliers, and I don't understand it. But let me just go get these pliers. I'll be right back. All right, everybody's seeing these. I'll tell you a story about these. It's pretty funny. So I'm buying these bags, which are the ones that did really well on the last couple of videos with, they're slightly better than Tough Built. And so I'm buying these bags that are the Pro Lock, and the contractor walks in and he's like, let me fix this freaking thing. Okay. So waiting at the counter, I'm ready to check out. Contractor walks in and it's a reputable contractor. So I am who I am, with whatever you want to call it, my status with who I work for and stuff, being an inspector. So I thought I was just gonna jack with the guy. And I was like, oh look, it's these guys. And he turns around and he takes a stab at me and he goes, I'll look at you with your homeowner DIY grade tool bags there. I was like, oh, well, yeah, actually these bags are actually comparable to the Tough Builts. And, so we get to talking a little bit. And I told him I had a YouTube channel and stuff. That's why I was buying these bags, and I sent some to some people and things. And I showed him these, and I said, "I bet you like these, don't you?" And he was like, "Man, really, I kind of sell jobs. I explain the work that's got to be done, and then someone else more or less does the job, which is fine." And without getting into too much more detail, I told him about these, and I pulled them out of the package. And I said, well, let me just show you why these are bad. And if you want to back up, right, I'm buying all this stuff. It's like almost $300 for everything. And I've got like 30 items on the counter. I got a huge video coming. And I buy everything. And then as I'm going out the door, I see these and they're in a different spot. And I was like, it's your fault for not having these with the rest of the crap. I also need to buy these. So the lady, she rings them up and she looks at me and goes, these are $60 by themselves. I was like, I know. And she was like, okay, I just wanted you to know. So yeah, these are $60. These are $60 by themselves. This is how much they open. I'm going to let them go. Okay. That's how much they open by themselves. So that's them. Okay. This is how much these open. I'll unlatch them. Ready? Now we got these. I'll latch them again. We'll let them spring open. Here we go. That's it. That's it. Even this electrician looks at me and goes, man, those things look like a two-handed operation. And I pretty much looked right back at him and I was like, yeah, man. They're like fucking hedge trimmers. I'm sure they cut great. I'm sure they strip nice. What I can promise you is they don't make up joints better. They're like a combination wannabe. I've got to have them in my videos to stop people from whining for not having them. But I could never recommend a pair of strippers at $60 that you've got to extend your hand all the way out like this just to make a cut. Electricians, we've already got enough carpal tunnel movements. We've got this one. We've got this one. We've got all of the movements. We do not need to introduce a new flex where you're literally opening your hand all the way like this. I don't understand it. I'm gonna hold these open and they're gonna close more. Watch. You can barely get number 10 wire in there. You had the Klein version of those, Robert. You did like them. You think, yeah, the gray ones are fantastic. That's my weapon of choice. They're actually more like Klein's and a multi-tool and a real multi-tool. And that video's coming. I think I'm going to rebuy the Milwaukees. I'm going to do some research on the Milwaukees, get everyone's favorite ones, and we're going to compare them. I don't know, man. I don't get the hype, which I'm sure these are fine. There's a lot of people that talk about these and they like these and they swear by them, but I only ever see them on YouTube. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I don't think these are good for American electricians. I think that they were made in Europe, and Europe has more of the kind of cable assemblies. So I'm sure you need something like this to be able to chop. The marketing on these shows cutting MC. In the very bottom picture there. Which is metal clad. So, typically on these it says cut copper only for the disclaimer. Let's see what it says. It says for BX and battery cable. So they should cut BX, which is more or less MC cable. So that's good if they cut MC cable, but I can cut number 4 with my clients. So I really don't need extra shear power on these shears, if you ask me. Yeah, you can cut MC, but it's hard to open them. Exactly, man. I don't think I can, Rodney. I think I'm stuck with them because I'm not one of the cool kids if you don't have them. So I probably got to keep in my backpack, in my tool bag, whatever. I got a bunch of new bags coming out. So I got 3 of the videos on tap right now. I've got a new product that I'd never seen before. Got a video on that. The electrical stuff's starting to pump out. We're starting to pump out more videos. So we're probably going to end up keeping these, but I'm not happy about it. And I do not recommend them. So if you see me with them, maybe I can change my mind on them, but we're just going to have to see. I sure as hell won't be abusing them. But yeah, that's that. So also got some other wire strippers not many people have heard of that I'm excited to show you guys. I had a pair shortly before my van was broken into, and then I never bought another pair. I've got a problem with buying the same tool twice. There's only a couple of tools that I'll buy twice. They're the exact same. And one would be the Knipex Cobras. Pretty much any Fluke multimeter, any Klein screwdriver. Even some levels I don't like to buy twice. I just don't like to. So pretty much, did I get any snow? Yeah. Yeah, we had school closed today, but it's Texas, so it doesn't take much to close school. But yeah, the kids played in the snow on Monday morning. I finally talked to the Napa rep to escalate that. They had on Black Friday will be shipped on the 18th. Nice, man. Yeah, the Klein 2J15 8CRs are really nice. That is my favorite. Return it after testing. That's you. I did a couple of videos where I returned stuff after testing it, so I kind of had that kind of rep for a while. Man, I try to keep everything. I'll tell you what though, those Klein bits were so bad. It didn't even cross my mind to return them until I got in the house and I told my wife how bad they were. And then I thought about it for a second and I was like, you know what? I'm probably not going to keep those bits. It's too much money for garbage. Nice. Yeah, I got a lot of short and sweet videos coming out, man. I'm not going to drag you guys on with all the useless info. One more thing I want to let you guys know before we get out of here. This one's pretty huge. I'm not sure if I still have it up. Hang on. It's here, but I don't know where it is. Yep, it's here. Okay. I don't know if I saved it. That might suck. I might have to just scroll through and find it. Not that one. This one. Yep, this one right here. Let's zoom out. That intersystem bond that pretty much any inspector will ask you for, which is that grounding block where you can tie all the low voltage stuff to and all your bonding. First off, you can't continue a service ground. It has to be irreversibly crimped, CAD welded, things like that. So that's not what those are for. Those are for communication boxes, low voltage data. It's for a spot for those guys to land that. That's what they're for. They're not required when you install a new panel. That's the popular belief. You don't actually have to install one because right here it says shall be provided for any additional building or structure. So if you're just replacing a panel or a service change out or a meter base, which is typically what you're doing, the AHJ, the authority having jurisdiction, the inspector, whatever you want to call them, the asshole, they cannot make you install one of these. Might be a city ordinance. You got to look that up. But that's not required per code. Oh, no problem, George. Everything was sized really good, man. It was done really, really good. JWC Texas, I enjoy using those Knipex wire strippers, but only in a small to-go bag to eliminate having multiple pliers at a place like the junkyard. I can see your issue, though. Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah, I can see where the nose of these might grab a bolt a little bit better than the Kleins because they're rounded over. You can see the round. Kind of round right there. So I can see where this part here might grab a bolt in a pinch. But as an electrician, I'm not grabbing bolts with these because you're going to risk ruining your $60 pair of strippers. So for me and for strippers in general, that's useless. Completely useless. Not needed. They could close this in and that could all be forged. And they could make a nice, I mean, they're fairly thick. They could make something nice for making up joints and make these a heck of a lot better. This lopping design here is definitely going to give you more leverage than anything on the market, but you just don't need it. And they don't open up wide. So if you're doing a whole bunch of terminations, like a bunch, like if you're at a hospital like I was, and you've got so many freaking wires coming out of the panel board. Sorry, I'm trying to get rid of this. Yeah, you got so many wires coming out of the panel board that you feel like you need like a makeshift freaking comb to comb all the wires together. Because I had like I don't know. I got called into the office for some meeting, and then also got let know that I had to terminate eight panel boards, 42 circuits each, and we didn't even have the wire pulled in, and they're calling the inspection for tomorrow. So I just had my helpers just start pulling boats, and boats. What I mean is sets of black, red, blue, green, and then a neutral for each hot. So 3 whites, black, red, blue, and a green, all on number 10. That'd be a boat. And we were pulling 13 wires in each conduit, so we didn't exceed induction, whatever you want to call it, overheating of the wires. You have to say hello or what's up, Jack. You can't say hi, Jack, especially in an airport. Nice. So anyway, long story short, my helpers are just pulling all this stuff out. I get out of the meeting and we just start pulling in wires. And I think right after the meeting, I started running I didn't have conduit in the panels yet. I still had to run the conduit. So we still had to run the conduit out. I had to set a gutter outside of the electric room. I had to pull wire into the gutter, leave it in the gutter because MC cable was going to hit the gutter. So we're going to run MC cable to the gutter, just have the wire into the panel and start terminating the panel so we could turn the power on to the building. And they just wanted the wire out of the electric room. But I had to do that 48 times 8 wires and terminate them all. So you're doing a lot of this. You're doing a lot of this motion, and then you're doing a lot of the stripping motion, and then you're pretty much handing off the strippers to the helper just to hold my stuff, at the rate that we're going. So it was literally like I had 4 people on a one-man job just trying to bust this out, and we actually got it done. We came in at 5 a.m. and we got it done by 8 o'clock. But yeah, so this motion here over and over and over where I'm having to push this out with this, that's not good, dude. I don't need to do that 400 times in a day, which is what would you wind up happening doing. So this isn't appreciated at all. This is bounces open. Actually, the spring almost bounces open too much. I would probably cut one spring out of this or just compress it to where it didn't open up so strong. I'd probably modify this. I'd probably pull this spring out like this. And I'd probably cut a couple of rings off of this and then put the spring back in it because it bounces open almost too much comfortable. But yeah, so I've got a video coming out. Takes a stab at some content creators. It's some fun. I don't mean any harm except that I do because I don't like people with a narrative of just trying to sell their products. I know I show a lot of products here, but I only bring cool stuff to the channel because it's cool. I don't care if I get paid or not. These guys are still wanting me to add the what do you call it? The commission. They're like, "Hey, are you ever going to set up your commission?" And I'm like, "No, I don't care about that." And they're like, "Well, we don't get to track your sales because it's like a pyramid. So whoever I'm under gets, I guess, paid a little bit if I make a sale or something off my commission. So then they get more. I don't care about money, man. I'm not here for the money. Maybe in the long term, YouTube will be fruitful, but I'm just here to tell you guys what's cool, what not to do, and help out electricians. Because frankly, the knowledge that I've got is just so vast that I've got to share it. I have to. It's what YouTube's for. So yeah, I do have a lot of like salesy stuff on the channel, but it's not my benefit. It's just cool stuff for you guys. So this was the last cool thing that I showed, and it was a magnetic USB cable in case you missed it. And yeah, it just cools itself up. I stick it to the face of my computer, so I always know where it is. That way, it's not dangling on the floor. And yeah, so I'll probably release that video here pretty soon. Damn, it actually sticks to the whole computer like this. Where'd those strippers go? See how magnetic it is. Will it do it? It's trying. It wants to. It'll almost stick to this little bit of metal here. It won't quite do it. It needs more surface area. But yeah, someone told me these things were crap. And I was like, man, I brought that to the channel for you guys. It's like, sorry if you didn't like it. There we go. I want it to happen. There we go. Yeah, pretty magnetic for how little metal surface area they got. I'll probably drop the members only tonight for one of the videos, and then I'll put it out for you guys in the afternoon tomorrow or something. Before we go try to squeeze through the doggy door again. Yeah. Imagine Tactics doing a project and Joshua arriving to help out. Dang, dude, I'd have to maybe when I redo my panel, I'll let Joshua know. That'd be cool. That'd make a cool video. All right. That's all the time we got. Appreciate all the support. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Yeah, I sound better. It's a hit and a miss, man. If you notice, like there's like a blanket, and that's tucked up against the mattress so I can breathe, because the fire suppression material in mattresses just destroys my allergies. So we're slowly getting better. This morning was the best morning that I've had in a long time. So we're getting better. But yeah, appreciate everything. I actually need to change mine. I'll fly you out. That'd be cool. Thanks, NT. We appreciate you. Give him a thumbs up because he made whiteboards cool. Good night. God bless. We'll see you guys later.